What are the key duties of the directors when their companies are facing insolvency? So this is a very difficult time. The director, I'm sure, would be feeling, a lot of strain, and it's not a nice place to be in at all. But a director is responsible for the company, and he or she should act in the best interests of the creditors. So when the company is on the cusp of being insolvent or is insolvent, the director has to act in the best interest of creditors, and that's creditors as a whole. Um, it can't be in regards to certain creditors above others. So essentially, you might have a selection of creditors, but do not prefer or help a creditor that maybe is a relative. Although they are genuinely owed money, and you want to pay them, you can't prefer them above the others. Um, or it could be yourself as well. So it could be that the director has put in personal funds, when the company was starting up, or to help with cash flow. It's quite common that a director would put in money into the company, and the company might stop trading or might enter into liquidation, and so you want to extract the funds. Don't do that. Although you are genuinely owed the money, and that's not disputed, you need to think very carefully before you repay yourself, because you're preferring yourself above the others. And it doesn't necessarily mean if it's a relative or even yourself. It could be a creditor that you feel sorry for, that it's maybe a really small you know, company or a one-man band, and they're desperate for the money, and it's going to affect their business, and so you really want to pay them, and that's human nature, and I get it. The problem is that you as a director have a responsibility to treat everyone equally at this time, so you need to be very careful as to who you are paying and why you're paying them. Um, so you need to have that in the forefront of your mind to act on behalf of all the creditors as a whole. You need to keep very, very detailed records at this stage, because you might need to rely on them in the future. You might be asked questions as to regards to your actions, and so you need to keep a detailed account of what you did and why. Management accounts are an absolute must. Obviously when you're trading, have those produced regularly. Consult with independent people, like your accountant, and an insolvency practitioner like myself as well, so you can consult with them and seek their advice. And that way you're obviously looking after yourself as well from a professional point of view. As a director, you need to ensure that you're doing everything correctly at this stage. So why do you need to go to these measures? Why do you need to, act on behalf of the creditors? Keeping your records, making sure that you're not preferring people. Well, it's because you can become personally liable, even though it's a limited company, and it might be that you're also a creditor, that you're owed money to the company, but you could also end up owing money to the company if you don't do these things right. It's what's known as antecedent transactions, and it basically means that you as a director have done something wrong. You may not have meant to, but you did, and you could end up owing whatever money that was back. There's quite a lot of scenarios. There's transaction at an undervalue, for example. So it may be that you've got an asset and you know, you've given it away, or you sold it for less than its value. So a motor vehicle's a really easy example to give. You've got your mileage, the condition of the vehicle, and its registration, and you can get a pretty good, accurate valuation for what it is. But don't forget, during this time, you need cash. Cash flow restrictions are tight, and you're desperate for money. You might sell that vehicle for way less than what it's worth, because you just needed some cash to maybe pay yourself, pay a relative or pay a creditor. And it's a transaction at an undervalue, and you could be liable for the difference. So that's, that's a difficulty. Or there's wrongful trading, for example. That's where you're, say, insolvent, you continue to trade, but you're making it a lot worse. And you continue to trade and you make it a lot worse, etc. And as a director, you should have had a responsibility to have done something then, not made it worse. So then you've traded whilst insolvent. So there's all these little areas. Those were just a few examples. So it's best to consult with an insolvency practitioner who can advise you on these and even give you tailored advice, because you can say, if it was me, you could call me and say, look, I'm thinking of doing this, and I could tell you, yes, that's great, go ahead, do it, just document it, or no, don't, because it'll be an antecedent transaction and it can be challenged later on and you could be personally liable. So always consult with an insolvency practitioner. So that's one of the reasons why you need to be careful as a director. You could become personally liable, but you could also be disqualified as a director for a period of 2 to 15 years, depending on the severity of what it is you've done. So if you are doing these antecedent transactions, or you've not conducted yourself correctly, the government, it's the insolvency service within the government, could say, look, it's in the public interest for you not to run a company again. We can't take the risk that you're going to do this. You shouldn't have done it, and they can disqualify you as a director. So that could stop, your future income if you wanted to set up a business in the future. So you need to be mindful of that. And then there's also the reputational damage as well. You want to avoid that. I've been doing this a very long time and I've dealt with hundreds of directors, and, they've traded a profitable company. They've employed people. They've paid a lot of money to HMRC and all the history of the company. They've done so well, and you just don't want to make any mistakes at the last hurdle. It's, you need to keep your record clean, because although directors often come to me, depressed because of the situation, they don't want to do anything in the future. It's really, taking a hit on them. But that feeling doesn't last, and directors will want to, run a business again. It might be that, the reason why this company didn't work wasn't their fault. There's a business model over here that's viable and they want to run it. And once they've got the strength and the courage back and the confidence back, then they can. So you don't want at this stage to do anything that can affect you personally, can affect whether or not you can be a director and your reputation. So it's just absolutely vital to get in touch with either your accountant, who can steer you in regards to the company and provide management accounts if you can't do them in-house, but also to speak to an insolvency practitioner like myself, because we will be able to give you guidance, and also tailored guidance on specific queries that you've got, to make sure that you don't do anything wrong. Okay, so I hope that's helped. Thank you.